This is crazy. To run this car for the whole season costs this amount of money.
We know that you want to know the number, and you will, but numbers are easy. You can either afford to go racing at this level, or you can't. If you can, then you have a big logistical problem to make all this work. This came by boat in this container. We hired this locally. This is everything you need to know about Rally Raid logistics. Beware of our fierce accountant, as he'll get really angry if you don't listen carefully. So what does racing look like? We race in the World Rally Raid Championship, composed of 5 races around the world. We start with the first race in Dakar, based in Saudi Arabia, 15 days. And 7 days we go to UAE, 7 days in Portugal, another 7 days in Argentina, and finish in Morocco with another 7-day event. So what does a racing team consist of? The heart of the operation is obviously the race car. Sometimes you run 1, 2, 3 cars, as well as having some customer cars as well. The second most important thing is the people and the team. We bring 2 engineers to look after the car technically, 5 mechanics per car, and at least another 2 or 3 logistic people depending on the event. In addition to the technical team that we have with us, we also bring a medical team. We have our own physio, and for some of the long haul events, and certainly for Dakar, we bring our own doctor. There are some standard things we need to run one car. So hotels for the team, fuel, petrol, for the diesel for the trucks, food, water, all that sort of stuff we get locally. As well as some insurances and a few other little bits and bobs. We have to have those in place for every event. Obviously we have to fly everyone to the far off places as well, so there's a travel cost to consider as well. How do we move everything from place to place? So after the last race in Portugal, we stripped everything out of our normal trucks that we keep in Europe, and we put them in a standard shipping container. The shipping container then goes on the ship and it lands in Buenos Aires. The shipping container comes off the ship and goes onto a truck like this, which arrives in our bivouac here. Then we take everything out of the shipping container and load it on another truck like this to use during the rally. Well, actually, it's like that. So, the standard parts we bring to every single event are obviously the driver and the co-driver, the car, and then the spare parts, wheels, tyres and fuel. Generally, the amount of spare parts goes with the length of the event. We bring more equipment and more parts to a Dakar 15-day event than we do a 5-day event here. But for a 5-day event, the minimum we need would be spur suspension, usually with 2 different setups in case the weather changes for wet or dry or whatever, and a standard set of transmission, gearbox, diff, rear diff. This also varies considerably with the weather. For example, in Portugal it's super wet, parts wear out more quickly in the joints and the suspension and so on. Here it's a bit more dry, but it's more rocky and more rough, so the lower parts of the suspension get damaged more. We generally have a standard kit, and then we would top it up depending on the events and the experience from previous years. It's also important to understand the car really well, which is important to keep doing events because we learn quite a lot more about it. The wheels and tyres, we fit new wheels and tyres every day because of the puncture protection that offers us. Obviously going with new carcass every day in such a rough rally means that we would need a set of tyres per day plus punctures. So for a 5-day event we'd use 6 tyres per day. Our tyre supplier BF Goodrich offer a really good fitting service, so we can change tyres day to day, so we can strip old for new. Rally Raid events are quite a bit different from other events in motorsport disciplines. So we set up here and we start, and then we move to another bivouac 500 k's away. That's why we need this big truck behind us. That's why we have to have all these rental vehicles. We move the whole team and all our parts and equipment 500 kilometres down the road. We service and rebuild the car that night, and then we move again to another bivouac, another 500 kilometres away. This is the difference between Rally Raid and quite a lot of things like the World Rally Championship. They all stay in one place. This is what sets this apart. It is an endurance event, and it also provides another logistical challenge for the team. So, how much does all this cost? There's quite a few factors that influence that. The time between events is quite crucial because if you can use sea freight, it's far more cost effective. Sometimes we do have to use air freight. Sometimes we have to top up and use a little bit of air freight and a little bit of sea freight. So to get this car around the world and compete in all 5 events can be between $1.2–1.5 million. So that's an overview of the championship for this year. Next year the events will be different. It'll be a different challenge.